Chaplain Dillard initiates creating and posting these videos. Their contents and YouTube's linked videos do not necessarily reflect specific beliefs, practices, requirements, or endorsements of the Department of Defense, its subordinate organizations, or other groups with which Chaplain Dillard is affiliated.
Welcome back. If you remember from the introductory video, we said that the heart of the matter, our personal values, is one of the first things we have to consider in spiritual resilience. Being aware of what we believe is important, what we deem as good, no matter what the reason for that is. And I have a practical exercise for you today, 3 simple steps that can help you more clearly discern or confirm some of the things that you value. Number 1, start looking for patterns of your leisure time. What is it that you get out of your leisure time? You may value a sense of justice because of the television shows you watch, or a commitment in relationship, or mercy, or productivity, the sports that you play, or the people you spend time with. They may be people of creativity. There may be a sense of order or progression, but there's some patterns in what you enjoy. Then talk to people that know you best and ask them what they hear you talking about. What are some of the patterns that they hear you talking about in terms of what you are passionate for? Because whatever you're passionate about, that is necessarily what you value. The second step is to choose an opposite value that you also find important for you. And that might sound contradictory. How can I value things that are opposite? But we do. For example, I mentioned in the previous video that we may value safety, but safety is inherently protective. It sometimes steps back from a situation, but we might also value commitment or progress or productivity, and those are more assertive. You may value patience, but you might also value initiative, and those seem contradictory or different. You may value mercy, and you may also value justice, because those are really not contradictory. They're appropriate to the situation. So that's the second step, is to identify or choose a value or two that is opposite of some of the things that you identify in your patterns of leisure. Then the third step is to make a list of pros and cons in the different situations where those values may be applied. So if you're going to be merciful as a parent or as a supervisor, what are some pros and cons for that in that situation? If you're going to emphasize justice as a neighbor or a friend, what are some pros and cons of justice as a neighbor? If you're going to emphasize being analytical, what are some pros and cons of that with your spouse in your marriage? If you're going to emphasize flexibility or openness of mind, which is, you might say, is contradictory or opposite of being analytical, because it's more of a listening mode than a thinking mode toward the other person. What are some pros and cons of that in your marriage or with your co-workers? And just write that down. Now, what's the benefit of that? Identifying your patterns, because that's, and where you, when you're in leisure, that's when you're most relaxed and you're most likely to be yourself. That's why I say leisure situations. What are some of the advantages or benefits, practical benefits of doing this? It gives you choices. So you're not on autopilot just reacting to the situation, but you've identified pros and cons for one value that you love and something that feels opposite that might also apply in the situation if something changes a little bit. Maybe the other person is in a different mood. Maybe you're about to go into a certain meeting or time with other people, and you need to prepare for that in your spirit or in your heart in a different way. So to have choices and to realize pros and cons of those choices gives you options to help set you and your relationships up for success based on that situation. Hope that's helpful. See you next time.